Hey yo, this is Koi. Today I have the Flathead Audio FH-01. This is a dynamic driver flathead that's about $35 on AliExpress. The FH-01 is by Flathead Audio, who is a one-man DIYer, and this is their first flathead release. This is what the box looks like. Inside the box is the case, and this is everything that you get inside. You get the case, the flathead, clip-on thingy, and your phones. The case is actually really nice. It is hard, has plenty of room, and has a hook that you can clip onto a backpack. What's more is that if you are one of the first 500 orders, you get a Flathead Audio hat. And what's special about this hat? Well, you can see the top is flat because flat head, get it? It also has this cool pattern on top. That's also what's on the shell of your FH-01. So it's like you're wearing a Flathead Audio flathead hat on your flat head. Yeah. Moving on to the design, the FH-01 features an all-plastic build and uses the MX500 shell design. It uses a 3.5mm non-detachable cable and comes in red and blue colors, so it's easy to identify the left and right. Overall, I really like the design of the FH-01. There's just something nostalgic about the plastic MX500 shell and the playful color that makes me think that this thing came out 20 years ago. The plastic shell on the FH-01 is very comfortable and light. I would sometimes put them on and forget that they're in my ear. They hang on to my ears really well, with or without foam, and I can comfortably wear this to sleep and wake up with it still in my ears. And obviously, I had to include some hat impressions too. As you can see, it looks very good on her, just as it did for me. They have adjustment straps in the back and were really comfortable and breathable when I went out on a run. Here's the frequency response of the FH-01, but do note that flathead measurements are often not the most accurate, so please take my graphs with a grain of salt and do not compare them to anyone else's, as we all have different ways of measuring stuff. Getting back to the graph, you can see that the FH-01 has two tunings. You can change the tuning with a switch of foams. Without the foam, the FH-01 is very bass-light and has more pronounced upper mids. And with the foam, the FH-01 becomes more bassy and has a warm balance tuning. First, let's talk about the foam tuning. The FH-01 with foam delivers impressively good bass and extension for a flathead at this price. It has enough bass that it probably won't disappoint people coming from IEMs. The mid bass in particular has excellent texture, adding a satisfying punch and warmth to the overall sound. The vocals are neutral with a sense of warmth to them, with male vocals especially nice with the added mid-bass warmth. Treble is nicely controlled and smooth. It is much easier to listen to compared to the no foam setup, which can come off a bit brighter. In many ways, the FH-01 with foam kind of feels like the awful explorer of flatheads. It is warm, musical, and is something that you can just relax and enjoy your music to. Without the foam, the FH-01 becomes much more mid-forward and a bit brighter at the sacrifice of the bass. The boosted mids and upper mids here makes female vocals feel more forward and sweet, though male vocals can sound a bit thin due to the slight lack of mid-bass and lower mids. Treble is brighter without foam, but is still enjoyable for me, but may not be for everyone. The bass takes a noticeable hit in quantity, but still maintains decent texture and extension. On the plus side, it opens up the soundstage, making it feel a bit wider than the foam. As someone who enjoys a more vocal forward tuning and don't mind the slight lack of bass, I find the FH-01 works better for me without the foam. Moving on to comparison, the EB2S Pro is around the same price as the FH-01, and if you watch my video on the EB2S Pro, you will know that it is quite bright even with the foam on. With foam on the FH-01, you can see that it is significantly warmer and has tamer upper mids compared to the EB2S Pro. Without the foam, the two becomes more similar, with the EB2S Pro having a more neutral vocal presentation, whereas the FH-01 has a quite more boosted upper mids here. The bass on the EB2S Pro is a bit more than the FH-01 without the foam. Without the foam, the FH-01 also becomes a bit brighter, but still less bright than the EB2S Pro. In terms of soundstage, the EB2S Pro is the widest, then the FH-01 with no foam, and then the FH-01 with foam. Now between these two, which one should you get? You should only get the EB2S Pro if you know you want a neutral, brightish tuning. Otherwise, I think the FH-01 is the one that everyone should get, especially if you're new to Flathead. The two tuning you get with and without the foam allows you to experiment with what you like and can change depending on what you want. If you want something warm and bassy, just put on the foam. If you want nice mids and a more neutral tuning, just remove the foam. Overall, the Flathead Audio FH-01 is a hell of a first release, giving you two different tunings that are good in their own way, and a solid package for the price. If it was not already obvious, the FH-01 gets a 3-star recommendation. At an affordable $35, the FH-01 could be the gateway Flathead for many people that have been wanting to try a different style of transducer. Plus, you get a cool hat, and I would almost recommend buying it just for the hat because it's so cool. Anyways, this has been Koi. Thank you for watching and see you next time.